In this video, we will talk about the feed processing and also the raw materials which are used for feed processing, then the various kind of methods which are used for feed processing and the type of food which is processed and the various equipments which are used to processing the feed. So, when we talk about the processing means the conversion of diverse feed ingredients into a single homogenized form of feed such as mash, then pellet and crumble among others. And in other words, we can say that food processing is the altering and the physical and so sometimes chemical also. That means the altering of physical and chemical nature of feed commodities to optimize utilization by animals or the poultry fowls and to enhance the mixing and the stability of the diet. When we see about the grain like sorghum, it has the lowest digestibility by the poultry fowls, but when it is processed, it is having the great food nutrients and it provides the greatly from processing methods. And processing of grain improve the digestibility up to 8 to 15% more than unprocessed food or as finally milled feed particles are better digested than whole feed ingredients. Processing help to improve the digestibility and also the availability of feed. For feed processing required raw materials, these are like grains and in grains wheat, maize, then oats, sorghum, rice, barley, various kind of other grains like millet and ragi. So these are the raw materials which are used for food processing. Not only this but also bran, various kind of brans, that means the hulled type of grains which have the brans like rice, then de-oiled rice bran and wheat bran. Then when we say about the raw materials which are the sources of proteins, and these sources of proteins which are used as raw material, that are various kind of oil seeds and the oil cakes such as rapeseed, then soybean, then cotton seed, groundnut, coconut, palm kernel and sesame cake and the maize and a maize cake. So these are the richest source of proteins and these are used for food processing to make the pellets and other processed food. Then in a gluten meal we use sunflower, then safflower meal and a gourd meal. When we say about the chunis, gourd, then tur, urad, moong and the chunis of other locally available pulses are used as a raw material and these are the sources of proteins. Then agro-industrial byproducts are also used and for making the food by the processing. Then in an agro-industrial byproduct we use molasses, about chuni, then tamarind seed powder, then mango kernel extraction and the tapioca waste. And raw minerals like the mineral mixture, then calcite powder, common salt and calcium phosphate. Then vitamins are also used as a raw material and these vitamins are like vitamin A, vitamin D and vitamin E. So these are the raw materials which are used to make the processed food. When we talk about the methods of feed processing, we have two types of methods, and that are dry processing and wet processing. What is meant by dry processing? It means, or it is a common method which include in a dry processing, and these methods are roller milling and milling plus pelleting. So these are two type of methods which are included, or these are mentioned as a dry processing. And in this process, it is a best to whole meal grains into 3 to 5 pieces, and when fine grinding lowers the animal performance and can cause a digestive upsets, and that's why in various conditions we use this dry processing method and make the grains into 4 to 5 pieces. That means we grind it and uh, make a dry processing food. Then in a wet processing, it also have the various types or methods like a steam flaking, then high moisture storage plus roller milling, and the reconstitution plus roller milling. And when we talk about this wet feed processing, many of the bigger commercial feedlots have installed wet processing system. And in a wet processing system, when we talk about the steam flaking, which has the effect of gelatinizing the starch, whereas high moisture treatment, which disturb or destroy the protein, and that's why the matrix in the peripheral endosperm, which improve the protein and starch digestibility due to this kind of processing which is made on this kind of food grains. Then rolled high moisture grain produces weight gains equal or superior to gain of a cattle feed roller dry grain, and additionally rolled high moisture grains produces better feed conversion efficiency than the traditional dry rolled grain. That means in both cases the grain must be stored in the absence of air during the processing method, and ideally the high moisture grain must be stored for at least 10 days prior to feeding. The storage process is an ensilage process which change the nature of the endosperm, which improve the digestibility. So these are some advantages of this wet processing method. Now we see about the type of feed for poultry, and the feed which is processed, and these processed feed is having in these three type, or it is available in these three manner, and these are mash feed, crumble feed, and feed pellets. So this first one, or this picture is of mash feed, and this mash feed is used for the, especially for the baby chickens. It is very finely smashed, or it is like a fine potting soil, and it is a mash, that finest kind of chicken feed which is normally accessible. That means this type of mash feed generally used for a baby chickens, because it is easy to digest, but it is not used in a mature poultry fowls as a feed. Then we talk about the crumble feed. You can see on the screen this picture is of crumble feed, and you can easily recognize that why it is known as the crumble feed, because it look like a crumble at, and in a simple terms crumble may be a carcass kind of a mash, however not as a compact of pellet. That means it is not as moist or as fine as a mash, and not as compact as a feed pellet. And such as the feed of oatmeal like a crumble, and it may be a semi-loose kind of chicken feed, and that's slightly easier to manage than the mash. So some chickens lower use crumble to bridge the gap between the mash and the pellets, and it is used popularly in a backyard of or a house farmer which rear their fowls in their backyard. They love to feed their fowls such kind of feed, that means the crumble feed. Then the feed pellets, these are foremost common kind of chicken feed on the market, and rather like it sounds, pellets are primarily very little compact cylinders of chicken feed goodness. You can see here these pellets are like a cylinder, or their shapes are slightly cylinder type, and some or it have one advantages due to this cylinder shape. One amongst the advantages of using these pellets is that they hold their foam nickel, which suggests they won't head to waste if the layer chickens accidentally knock their feeder over. So this is the advantage of this feed pellets, and it is also easy to manage, store and serve. So these pellets usually become the primary selection for many backyard chicken keepers, and it is very popular feed, or it is a popular processed feed. Now we learn about various equipments which are used in a processing of feed. So here batch mixer, when we use the batch mixer, generally it works, all ingredients are loaded into the mixer and mixed until a homogeneous material is produced and discharged from the mixture and in a single lot, and the output of batch mixer is measured in a kilogram per batch. Then we talk about the grinder. These grinders are very much essential and priorly used equipment in a various poultry farm and also in animal feed processing plant. So this grinder is mainly used for grinding grain products on the definite shape and that are to be made into livestock feed pellets or a poultry feed pellets. Then the screw conveyor, it is a conveyor which is used to move the solid and semi-solid type of materials from one place to another place. Then the pellet making machines. These machines are used to make the pellets. This machine helps in reducing nutrition loss. Then it enhances the protein content, and it reduces feed wastage and help poultry to digest their fodder priorly and very easily. Then the packing machines. These packing machines are automatic weighing and packing machines which are support the process of precise weighing and packing of animal feed pellets. And the machines weighs the product with accurate measures and files and fills these in a gunny bags. So this is the working of these equipments, and in this picture you can see here this is the raw material which is having various kind of oil seeds and various grain, maize, rice. So these raw materials are mixed in this batch mixer, and then it grind or crushing in this machine which is known as the grinder, and then it and in this machine these are converted into the fine particles or equal particles which have the size near about 1 to 2 millimeter. Then these ingredients are again mixed with each other, and when the finely powdered mixture is again mixed in this machine, and finally these mixing ingredients are converted into this pelleting machine. And after pelleting, or when these raw materials are converted into pellet, these pellets are cooled in this cooling chamber, and finally these pellets are the final products which are packed into these gunny bags. So see here in this slide, you can see this is a flow chart of animal feed preparation, how the process is going on, and final product, that is the pellets, are formed in this process. So first, various feed ingredients like grains, bran, protein meals, then various kinds of agro-industrial byproducts, then various kind of pulses are taken in a batch mixer from the raw material storage godown, and in accordance with the feed formulation. After mixing of these after mixing of all these raw materials is a ground to a uniform particle size, that is 1 to 2 millimeter, and the ground material is further mixed. So this is the first step in which we use the storage material which are received in this mixer machine, and after receiving this storage material, it grind and form same size particles, and the size of that particles are 1 to 2 millimeter. Then the materials used in feed formulation in a similar quantities such as vitamins, minerals, urea, then calcite powder, common salt, this type of materials are used in a similar quantity and are mixed in a ribbon mixture, which is proper diluents and storage in one of the storage bin. So here is again one type of mixing process is going on after the grinding process. And if the molasses feed is mixed with the dry steam before pelleting, and after mixing all these raw materials which have same size, after grinding these materials, here is the inclusion of one material, that is the molasses, and in the deficiency of molasses we use some sweetening agents and in place of molasses. Then steam acts as a conditioner to the feed, and it helps to killing some pathogen. Here steaming process is going on after mixing of all the ingredients and grind it well. Then here the steam is provided to these materials, and due to the steam provide these which having the various kind of pathogens which are present in this grinding mixture, that all pathogens are killed by this steam. And the temperature of steam feed is in the range of 75 to 80 degree centigrade. Now the steam feed is converted to pellets by pressing it through a cylindrical die and a press roller. With the help of cylindrical die and a press roller, these steamed material which are having somewhat moist type of material is formed, and that material is then converted into the pellets with the help of press roller and the cylindrical die. Then usually 1 to 2 millimeter die is used for the production of pelleted feed for the poultry. Then this pelleted feed thus produced is passed through the pellet cooler before packaging in the gunny bag. Then these pellets are cooled with various kind of cooler, and finally these cylindrical pellets are packed into the gunny bags. So here we learn everything about the feed processing. Thank you.